Something extraordinary is supposedly happening behind the palace walls. A dramatic new claim suggests that Prince William and Catherine have made a shocking decision involving Queen Camilla and a Windsor residence, and that Camilla has allegedly been told she cannot remain there. But before we get carried away, there is one very important question. Is this actually a royal decision, or has an explosive online claim taken a much more complicated Windsor property story and turned it into something it isn't? Because when you look at what has actually been reported about William, Catherine, Camilla, Royal Lodge and the future of Windsor, there is a much bigger story developing. And it could tell us something very important about the future of the monarchy. Let's start with the facts. Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, have established Windsor as their family base, with Forest Lodge becoming their home after their move from Adelaide Cottage. At the same time, Royal Lodge has been at the center of years of controversy surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. That situation has now changed significantly, with Andrew leaving Royal Lodge and moving to another residence on the Sandringham estate. And whenever a major royal residence becomes available, speculation naturally begins. Who will use it? Who will not? And what does it mean for the future of the royal family? That is where Queen Camilla enters the conversation. But there is a crucial distinction we need to make from the very beginning. That specific claim should therefore be treated as speculation. However, the real changes taking place around Windsor are genuine, and they are fascinating. For generations, Windsor has been one of the most important places in the British monarchy. It is not simply another royal location. Windsor Castle is one of the most recognizable symbols of the crown, and the surrounding royal estate has long been associated with different members of the family. But the way Windsor is being used is changing, and William and Catherine's decision to make Windsor their family home is arguably one of the biggest clues about where the monarchy is heading. The Waleses have wanted a family life that provides greater privacy, while still keeping them close to the center of royal duties. Windsor offers exactly that. It gives the family proximity to Windsor Castle, London and other royal locations, while providing a very different environment from living directly in the middle of central London. And there is another factor. William is not simply choosing a home for himself. He is preparing for a future in which he will become king. Catherine is preparing for a future in which she will become queen. And their children, George, Charlotte and Louis, are growing up in a very different royal environment from the one William experienced. So every decision about their home has potentially much greater significance than it appears. Now let's talk about Queen Camilla. The claim that Camilla has been ordered to leave a Windsor residence makes for an incredibly dramatic headline. But royal housing arrangements are much more complicated than that. Camilla is the wife of King Charles III. Her principal residence arrangements are therefore connected to the king and his household. And there has been no credible public announcement establishing that William and Catherine have personally ordered Camilla out of a property. In fact, Charles and Camilla have continued to have a strong connection to Clarence House, which has long been associated with their private life. That makes the viral claim even more questionable. Because if there really were a major confrontation between William and Catherine and Camilla over a royal residence, it would represent an extraordinary constitutional and family story. It would be the kind of development that would almost certainly attract substantial coverage from established royal correspondents. So we should be careful. A sensational headline does not automatically mean a sensational event actually occurred. But that doesn't mean we should ignore the underlying story, because there is something very significant happening. The British monarchy is slowly moving towards a generational transition. Right now Charles is king. Camilla is queen. William is heir to the throne. Catherine is the future queen. And George is second in line. That means the royal family effectively has two timelines operating simultaneously. The present monarchy is the Charles and Camilla era. But the future monarchy is already being shaped by William and Catherine. And Windsor sits right in the middle of that transition. This is why William and Catherine's move matters. It demonstrates that the Wales family is establishing its own permanent identity. They are not simply waiting for William's accession. They are building the foundations of what their future reign could look like. And that includes where they live, how they raise their children and how they balance royal responsibilities with family life. Now we come to Royal Lodge. This property has been one of the most controversial royal residences in recent years because of Andrew. For years, the question surrounding Royal Lodge was essentially, What happens to the property if Andrew remains there? That question has now changed. Andrew's departure means Royal Lodge is entering a new chapter. And whenever that happens, people naturally begin asking whether the residence could eventually be used by another senior royal. This is where speculation about William and Catherine becomes understandable. They are now based in Windsor. They are the future king and queen. And they have young children who are growing up there. So it is easy to see why people might wonder whether Royal Lodge could eventually become relevant to the Wales family. But we should not confuse a logical possibility with a confirmed decision. There has been no confirmed announcement saying William and Catherine have been given Royal Lodge. And there has certainly been no credible confirmation that they have used the property to force Camilla out. Those are two very different things. Here's why these stories spread so quickly. The headline combines several genuine elements. William and Catherine are in Windsor. Royal Lodge has been undergoing major changes. Andrew has left the property. The monarchy is preparing for a generational transition. And royal residences have historically been connected to questions of status and hierarchy. Put all those facts together, and it becomes very easy to create a dramatic narrative. But the missing piece is evidence. There is a difference between saying, William and Catherine are establishing themselves in Windsor, and saying, William and Catherine ordered Camilla to leave Windsor. The first is consistent with established reporting. The second requires specific evidence. And at the moment that evidence is missing, even without the sensational claim, there is a genuine story here. The royal family has a limited number of major residences. Those residences serve different purposes. Some are private homes. Some are official working bases. Some are used for ceremonial occasions. Others are connected to the crown estate or privately held arrangements. So when one member of the royal family moves out, it can create a chain reaction. A property becomes available. Another member may need accommodation. The family's working structure changes. And eventually, the next generation begins taking priority. That is why royal housing can sometimes reveal more about the monarchy than a speech or photograph. Where a royal lives can tell us where they see their future. William and Catherine have increasingly presented themselves as a modern family. Their public image has focused heavily on family, duty, service and stability. Their move to Windsor fits into that strategy. They have chosen a home that allows them to raise their children away from some of the intensity associated with central London. But it also keeps them close enough to carry out major royal responsibilities. This balance is extremely important. William knows that becoming king will eventually bring enormous demands. Catherine knows that becoming queen will do the same. So establishing a stable family environment now could be part of preparing for that future. And that makes Windsor more than just an address. It becomes part of the Wales's long-term strategy. This is where things get particularly interesting. Camilla is currently queen alongside Charles. Her role is very different from Catherine's future role. Catherine is not replacing Camilla today. There is no formal process underway where William and Catherine simply take over every aspect of Charles and Camilla's household. But eventually there will be a transition. That is inevitable. When William becomes king, Catherine will become queen. Camilla's role will change. And the monarchy will move into another chapter. The important point is that this does not necessarily mean conflict. Royal transitions do not automatically require one generation to push another generation out. In many cases, arrangements evolve gradually. That is why claims suggesting William and Catherine have suddenly ordered Camilla out should be approached cautiously. The reality is likely to be much more complicated. Another reason the story is interesting is the relationship between Charles and William. For decades, William has been preparing to become king. Charles himself spent most of his life as heir before finally becoming monarch. That means Charles understands better than almost anyone what William's position requires. It would therefore be surprising to assume that every decision concerning William's future is some kind of family confrontation. There will naturally be disagreements. There will be different priorities. There will be changes in the way the monarchy operates. But the public often sees these changes through the lens of conflict. A house changes. Someone moves. A title changes. And suddenly people assume there must be a family feud. Sometimes that may be true. But sometimes a house is simply a house. And a change of residence is simply part of a long-term plan. There is another part of this story that deserves attention. George, Charlotte, and Louis, the Wales children, are growing up in Windsor, and that could be hugely significant for the next generation of the monarchy. Prince George is currently second in line to the throne. His future will be shaped by the environment in which he grows up. And what will happen to the homes that have defined the current generation? And stay tuned, because the next major Windsor announcement could reveal just how dramatically the royal family is preparing for the future.